Hi guys, and welcome back to The Last of Us Part 2. As you can tell, this episode is going to be a little bit different. Turns out that something went wrong while I was filming this episode, and my OBS, which is my recording software, didn't end up recording any audio from my mic, meaning that I had over 2 hours of footage of me playing this game without any commentary. So you won't be able to hear what I'm saying. I'm basically just a floating head on the top left corner, but hey, at least you can see my first reactions to certain things and certain scenes. This video is going to be much more heavily edited than my previous ones, just because I wanted to make this somewhat watchable. So you won't be able to see me going through every single area thoroughly. I promise you, I actually did some exploring. I wanted to collect every single item that I could find, but for the sake of this video, I just decided not to show everything. So, as you can see from the footage right here, I went back to these two buildings that I basically explored before. And I did this because I realized that I might have missed something, and I ended up finding one trading card. And this is the card that I found. It's Sahir the Sorcerer. I did read it through, but I'm not gonna do it right now. So after that, I went back to Ruston's Coffee because one of you guys left me a comment telling me that I should look up when I go into the bathroom, and I ended up finding this vent right here,
gross.
which leads to the room that I couldn't access in the previous episode. Turns out that I couldn't pick up any items in that room because my inventory was already full, but hey, I was still excited to find my way here because, I don't know, stuff like this is very interesting to me. I get very excited about finding secrets like this. Obviously, I needed a little bit of help, so thank you to that person who basically gave me that tip. That was very helpful. So yeah, pretty soon I realized that there was nothing here that I could take with me, so I decided to leave this area and yeah, basically move forward. I hope that this voiceover isn't too boring. Maybe actually you can use this as ASMR. Maybe I will bore you to sleep. Honestly, that would be an honor. So yeah, anyway, I decided to take a look at this little roof right here. Obviously, we took a little peek at this area in the previous episode. I was just basically admiring my scenery. I like the colors in this game. I don't know what it is. It's a bunch of grays, greens, browns. I kind of like the aesthetic. But what I didn't like was the next scene right here. I realized that I was right in the middle of a bunch of WLFs and they have a dog. A freaking dog. And if you have played any From Software games ever, you know how hard the dogs can be when you play Dark Souls or any other From Software game, and I was pretty sure that the dogs would be kind of a pain to, you know, fight against in this game as well, and I was right. I love dogs, but Jesus, dogs in video games are seriously the worst. Especially when you have taken a week off from playing the game, and I think you can see how rusty I am from the footage that you're going to see here in a bit. I was basically just panicking. I was just trying to somehow survive, you know, I don't know, fighting the dog with the silencer, planting mines. Actually, the mines are kind of cool. I'm actually using them quite a lot in this episode. But yeah, this is pretty much some typical chaos from me. Just, I don't know, camping in one room and trying to defend myself with the wind. Pretty much had absolutely no strategy here. I was just, I don't know, doing all sorts of things. For example, using smoke bombs as stun bombs. I don't know, they kind of work. Sort of. I don't know if this is how you're supposed to use them. Probably not. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to use them, like, you know, the smoke bombs in Last of Us Part 1. Also, dodging is something that I totally forgot how to do. I definitely pressed all the wrong buttons. Pro tip, don't play 4 hours of Bloodborne before playing The Last of Us, because the controls are not the same. And this was the part when I realized that I'm totally screwed. Usually everything goes to hell when I need to heal very badly. I was trying to find a shelter, obviously didn't do a very good job at that. Noticed that there is a dog that's chasing me. I don't know, nothing about this part really worked out, as you can see if you are following my facial expressions. So at this point, I was sure that I was going to be dead. It was no surprise to me. This is the typical chaos that you will see at the start of every single of my episodes. So yeah, I hope you like chaos, because this is basically what it's going to be like for the next couple of minutes. I was just frantically just running around the place, just trying every single trick in the book. I don't know, just the dogs were the worst. I had no idea what to do with them, so I decided to, I don't know, shoot one right to the butt. And that ended up working out kinda okay. But yeah, I still have no idea how to actually properly fight the dogs, so if you have any tips, feel free to share those. Because I feel like I should probably just run away from them, so that I don't, you know, they will lose the scent trail or whatever, but you know, at this point I was just, I don't know, camping, so losing them wasn't an option. Like, honestly, every single time I see the dog, I was just straight up panicking. For example, I started crafting a mine instead of, you know, planting it, and it resulted into this near-death situation. Thank God for the endure skill that we got. I don't remember if it was in the last episode or in the episode before that. Honestly, these bombs are actually quite useful. I know that I'm not, you know, using them right, or I don't think I am, but you know, at least they work, kind of. So after camping behind the desk for forever, basically, I was just finally able to clean this area out of the enemies. Obviously, there are more outside, but you know what? I decided to use this time to craft more items, and I was very happy that my inventory was basically full of all the stuff that we needed, so I just crafted a bunch of stuff for later. And as you can tell, I pretty much immediately left the bank, and don't you worry, I will go back later to, I don't know, pick up all the loot that I missed, or I didn't miss, but I just wanted to take a look at the area first and maybe get rid of all the enemies and loot after that. So yeah, that's the tip that I got like ages ago, and I finally decided to put that into use. Obviously at this point I had no idea how big this area was going to be. I actually thought that it was going to be quite small, so I just continued exploring. I obviously did some looting here, but turns out that I actually had quite a lot of ammo, which is very surprising because I don't know, I usually run out of ammo very easily. As you can tell, I just decided to leave some of the stuff here because I decided to loot this place a little bit later. I kind of like the fact that this game has tall grass, and they decided to, I don't know, add this element to, I don't know, sneaking, stealth, whatever you call it. It's actually quite useful. It's nice to, you know, peek behind the corner. I kind of like this. I should use this more. Also, the grass looks kind of nice. I'm usually a big fan of, you know, grass and leaves in video games and how they look like. I don't know what that's about, but I usually pay attention to that quite a lot when I play games. So, I decided to move along and use the grass to my advantage here. I saw the red door and I was pretty sure that that's basically where we are supposed to be heading. And my genius plan was to go around, you know, that brick wall, only to realize that somebody else had the same idea, and at this point I knew that I was totally screwed. So I noticed that there was some rifle ammo, you know, in the middle of the grass, so I decided to put my gun into use. And I've actually started liking this quite a lot. And I'm so mad that that missed. That was so just, I was so mad, but you know what? I'm glad that I got him eventually, you know, without using the scope. And honestly, I was kind of proud of myself because of that, you know? You gotta be proud of yourself sometimes when something goes well. So basically after this I realized that there are no more enemies in here, so I decided to take a look around, and I headed to the building that was right across the street, and turns out that there was basically nothing there. I was just wondering why these buildings look like they have been burned, or have they been burned? I'm actually not sure anymore, or is there some type of a moisture issue problem thing going on? I don't know if you can call that moisture issues. I just basically translated that straight from Finnish into English, so I do apologize if that sounds a little bit goofy, but anyway, it just looks like these buildings were burned and then somebody put out the fire. Maybe there are some lore implications that I don't know, behind these buildings. I don't know, maybe I'm just looking too much into these things. But yeah, I'm just basically taking a look around. Typical stuff that I normally do. I don't think there was anything exciting inside of these buildings. So I decided to move forward, or actually not forward, I actually decided to move backwards basically and go back into the central bank because I remembered that I left some loot in here. Because the first time I was here, I was just panicking and running around and I left the mine here. Also, I was borderline just kind of expecting this wall to lead somewhere, but it didn't, so, boring. But anyway, here you're probably wondering what the hell I'm doing. I was just trying out whether I can actually throw the mine somewhere. Turns out that you can't. I'm pretty sure that the game actually told that to me at some point, but I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, after I was done exploring, I decided that it was time to move forward. And I know that you guys didn't see it here because I cut that footage, out of this, but I actually went back to all of the buildings that we visited before, including the jewelry store, so I did pick up all the loot that was in there, or hopefully I did. There were a bunch of, rags and some alcohol, if I remember correctly, and there was a, maybe was it the locker that was in the bank that I did loot as well? Don't remember, but anyway, I did go back and pick up all the loot that I could find. And at this point, you can see that I have enough pills to, upgrade some of my skills, but I decided not to do that just yet. I just wanted to pretty much save my pills for the listen mode upgrade so that I can move faster while in listen mode or crouching. I actually do not remember. But anyway, I decided to save for that. So I actually went up the stairs and I ended up in this area with a bunch of trash cans. Do you call those trash cans? Actually, let me know because I would love to know what these things are actually called. Like the smaller ones and this green one right here. I noticed immediately that I was supposed to use this to get up this structure right here. And I don't know why I tried this, because I was pretty sure that this wouldn't work, because, the trash can or the trash thingy, this green thing right here, does have wheels on it, so, obviously it doesn't stay there. So I decided to move the bin, right here, as you can tell, to this corner. And yeah, it actually ended up working kind of well, and I was proud of myself. I'm not usually a huge fan of puzzles in video games, so I don't know, I'm just not, but I don't mind, the puzzles in The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2. I actually kind of like these because they're usually very self-explanatory, very short, and they're not immersion breaking, and it's just kind of fun to solve those every now and then. So yeah, this was a long way of me saying that I don't mind them. It's just fine, I guess. So yeah, I guess we're at this, I don't know, bike store thingy, basically. And I was actually excited that we finally found something interesting, meaning another one of these trading cards right here. I actually don't remember what this one was. Oh yeah, it was Naledi the Youthful. I actually like these cards and I do like to read all the lore about them because, I don't know, I just do. I like stuff like this. I would like to buy those cards one day. I saw that somebody actually sells those, on Etsy. And then we found our first lore node of this episode. And this one was left for Boris. And Boris was that, I don't know, that archer guy that we learned about in the previous episode. And I guess he's maybe daughter wife. I actually don't remember who Sophia was, but turns out that she was killed by the WLFs, and Boris wasn't too happy about that. And I was so excited that we finally got some information about Boris and his background. I really like reading these lore notes because I don't know, it just gives you so much more, important background information, and it fleshes out the story a lot. So I will keep reading these in the, upcoming episodes as well. After reading the note, I actually picked up a couple of upgrade materials that I found, and it was time for us to upgrade the weapon. The only weapons that I could upgrade were the shotgun and I believe the revolver. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I could only upgrade fire rate or, improve the fire rate of these two weapons, and I ended up picking, the pump shotgun because of reasons that I don't even remember. And I got a trophy, and I was really excited about that because I am so motivated when it comes to trophies. I would like to platinum, this game one day, maybe. So yeah, if you have any tips for that, let me know. So anyway, we finally entered a whole new area, and I was pretty sure at first that we were supposed to, climb this truck right here. Turns out that that wasn't the case. So I decided to jump inside of the window instead. I don't know, or I mean through the window, not inside of the window. Anyway, so yeah, I actually was admiring the moss, like the things that I think about when I play these games. I actually do like the fact that they use so many, green colors in this game. I don't know what it is. I just like the greenery for some reason. Maybe because it's, still winter here in Finland and everything looks kind of grim. So, seeing something green kind of makes me happy. You know what doesn't make me too happy? This hellhole right here. And speaking of flashlights, I mentioned at the start of the previous episode that somebody has left me a comment, or actually a couple of you left me a comment, stating that in this game you have had some experiences when the infected actually react to your flashlight. Now, I don't know if they react directly to the light itself or the sound of the flashlight, but I've seen a little bit of footage of that, and I guess that's possible, but majority of you guys said that that's really not a thing and the infected shouldn't react to your flashlight at all. But I'm just gonna keep this thing in mind because I guess the infected can still react to you, toggling on and off the flashlight. So yeah, anyway, so if I guess there is a possibility that they can react to it, but it's not really a huge problem, most of the time. As you can tell, I'm pretty much just showering, this sampler with my light. I was actually trying if I could backstab them. Turns out that I can, and the plan ended up, backfiring. So I ended up doing a round 2 and I tried a very different approach. I actually took one of my bricks and threw it there just to, lure the samplers to their brick. I wasn't sure how many of the, how many infected was in this place, so I wanted to just, I don't know, take a look around. I realized later that I could have used a Molotov and just, burn the samplers into that corner there, but, I didn't realize it at this time. Because I was sure that those two weren't the only ones here. Turns out that they were, but obviously I didn't know about that at this time. And you're going to love what I'm going to do here in just a second. I honestly almost shat myself. I wasn't expecting this at all. I actually thought that this was a closed off area, and I yeeted out of there very quickly when I realized that the other sampler was coming. I don't know how I survived, these situations sometimes. And I decided to, do a pro gamer move and maybe burn the Shambler um, using the Molotov. I actually think that was a very good idea. Did it end up working? Well, you will see that, in a second. I panic and accidentally change my weapon into the rifle. I actually like these guys. The samplers are actually quite fun to fight against. I don't know. I just actually prefer them uh, over, bloaters for some reason. Probably because the bloaters are actually they're actually throwing something at you. I don't remember what that was, what they threw. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of range attacks in games anyway. That's usually because I just struggle against, archers and, anybody who throws anything at me. So maybe that's why I like Shamblers better. I don't know. I don't hate bloaters, by the way, don't get me wrong. I do like the design. But yeah, I just prefer to fight against, these guys. Instead, I guess I had enough pills for, the movement speed upgrade, and I did, and I used it, and I was very happy. Actually, my resource situation was actually pretty good in here. I just went back and picked up a few items, a brick and a couple of bullets that I missed earlier. So yeah, I think I was actually doing quite good at this point. So yeah, after looting that place, I actually went upstairs. Turns out that there was a toy store there, and I found something very interesting actually. Obviously, the remnants of an infected and an outdoor sportsman magazine. And turns out that we can, upgrade our skills some more. This is a new skill tree or a skill path, whatever you call it. And at this point, I was 100% sure that we were going to get a bow in this game, and I was super excited about that because I really liked using the bow and arrow in the previous game. I know I started using it quite late in part 1, but I ended up really liking it, so I was looking forward to getting a bow in this game too. Turns out there wasn't too much stuff in the toy store. I guess it was just, the magazine, and that was pretty much it. So I ended up, leaving the place, and I totally forgot that there was this whole area that I hadn't taken a look at. And I was actually pretty happy that they were only infected here. I actually thought that they were WLF for a second, but then I heard them gurgling, and I was like, okay, I think this is just going to be fine. Because, the AI for the WLFs, actually, I think that's done quite well. Because, they are acting like normal human beings, and you don't know what they're going to do next. When these guys, they're just, roaming around. If you're just, encountering just one of them, you're just gonna be fine. But turns out that he wasn't the only one in this area, and I decided to put my dodge abilities into use because I haven't, used that in a while. I ended up missing that blow, but you know what? I feel like I still got it. I like dodging in games in general, and it's quite satisfying in this game as well. I just haven't really used it because I kind of forgot that that's even a mechanic. I should use that more just to save some ammo. I could just dodge out of the way of the infected and maybe, I don't know, hit them with a melee weapon. So yeah, anyway, after that I decided to take a look at this place right here, and turns out that the backyard is quite a lot, bigger than I first expected. I just wanted to take a look around, see if there's any loot in here, and then I actually saw one of those trash, what is that, bins, canisters, whatever, the green one right there. I wasn't sure what to use that for. I actually thought that I should climb up somewhere or maybe, move it with me, so I decided to just leave it there until I realize or I figure out what to do with it. And then we found our second note. Boris is acting weird, and at this point I was sure that he was actually infected, and I was just thinking that maybe we have, encountered him earlier. I was just speculating about that whole thing
tattoo shop.
before it turns out that we were actually in this tattoo shop. And I was just wondering who did Ellie's tattoo, because I don't think anyone has actually told us how she got the tattoo, who tattooed that on her. I don't think she did that herself. I mean, she's a badass, so I wouldn't be too surprised if she did, but I don't think she did. Maybe there was a tattoo artist in Jackson, like, honestly, who knows? So after the tattoo shop, I decided to take a look at this salon right here. I don't think there was anything special in here, really, just some loot. Probably rags and alcohol, I actually can't remember. A couple of pills here and there. So I left the area quite quickly, actually. And I guess I returned back to the backyard. Yes, I did, because I was just, I don't know, I just wanted to find out what to do with the whole trash bin thing, and I realized straight away that there was actually a door behind it and some infected behind that door. So I opened it. I honestly thought that the fire would be enough, but you know, turns out that it wasn't, so I ended up using almost all of my shotgun ammo, and I could have maybe used melee weapon for this one as well. But you know what? I guess this was much more fun. And I mean, it looked cool, so, you know, why not? So turns out that they have been here for quite a while, because this place looks like a freaking mess. And also at this point I don't know why I do this. When I see a safe, I touch it immediately without knowing the code. I don't know why I keep doing that, like, it just, I don't know, maybe because I think that it will miraculously open somehow. Who knows? As you can tell, I definitely do not trust this room. I basically just looted it, and I was trying to find basically any hints or any codes that I could use to open up that safe, but I didn't end up finding any. So I decided to try my luck and listen very carefully so that I could open up the chest without finding the actual code.
Oh shit.
And it ended up working. I was so proud of myself. I know I've actually not used this in part 2. I did try that in part 1. But yeah, that's actually quite cool as a mechanic. And I was so happy about the holster. Because, you know what? That makes such a big difference when, you know, changing or switching the weapons in the middle of the combat, for example. This makes your life so much easier. So I was pretty hyped about that. So yeah, after that, as you can tell, we actually jumped right into the pet store. So this is where I went to next, and turns out that I wasn't the only one here. I was sure that this door wasn't going to open up. I don't know why I didn't press triangle there, but I was sure that I would, you know, need to break this glass because it just kind of seems like it, I guess. And turns out that I was right. The door was locked. Now when I think about it, well, I don't think I could have, you know, jumped over the wall. I don't think so. And then I found the note that I was so excited about, because turns out that I was right all along and Boris was the one who was killing the WLFs. So, we were basically right. We knew that Tommy wouldn't do like heinous things like that. Obviously, Tommy isn't a saint either, but you get the drill. So, at this point, I decided to upgrade my aim stability thingy, just because I was sure that I would get a bow eventually. I was just trusting my instincts at this point. So yeah, I just really wanted to upgrade that, I guess. And then, you know, proceed further, and turns out that there was a sampler there, and he was all alone. Obviously didn't know it at this point, and I got quite nervous. I noticed that there was a lot of maybe glass on the wall, or actually on the floor, I mean. Or is that glass? Actually, maybe that isn't, because it doesn't look like it. Well, anyway, I was just trying to sneak around and not to make a lot of noise, taking a look around, you know, get the loot. I was actually more nervous about the infected than the shambler because these guys can just raise hell. I don't know, these are just sneaky little bitches. They just appear out of nowhere and they alert, you know, everyone. They just snitch. They're just, you know, tiny little snitches. So I decided to get rid of him first. Take a look around and turns out that there isn't that much loot in here after all. So next I was just trying to think how to, you know, get rid of the shambler. I was thinking about maybe shooting him, but ended up, you know, luring him into another corner just because I wasn't sure how many infected, you know, was on the other side of the building. And I didn't wanna, you know, raise any suspicions or, you know, make a ton of noise. So I took a little look around and, you know, just decided to continue forward. I saw that there was a note on the wall, but I wanted to take a look around first and make sure that there was nobody else in this room before I picked the note up. So that's what I'm actually doing right here. I was nervous about the sampler because I wasn't sure where he was at this point. I was trying to take a look up because, you know, maybe there is a vent there that I could climb into. I don't know why I was thinking about stuff like that. But, you know, just wanted to make sure. And then I decided to leave this place, you know, before reading the note so that I don't die of just tomfoolery, basically. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. So I thought that this was a good time to take a look at the note that we just got, and turns out that it included the code to the safe that we opened up earlier, and I was so happy that we already opened the safe up so we didn't have to go back and, you know, do this whole thing all over again. So yeah, anyway, I decided to move forward and I noticed that there was an infected there, or the remnants of an infected, and a couple of arrows here, and this was the point where I speculated that maybe we weren't, you know, following Tommy at all. Actually, I actually kind of think that we were following Boris and his footsteps all along. And my thoughts were interrupted by this huge boom, and I immediately wanted to know what that was about. And I was actually expecting there to be a cutscene on top of these stairs, which, you know, ended up not happening. But, you know, instead of the cutscene,
Hope you did that, Tommy.
we got this, and I was sure it was Tommy as well at this point because I don't know, I was just talking about Boris and how I thought that we were actually following him instead of Tommy, but I forgot about that theory straight away, and I was basically excited to see Tommy again. So this place, you know, nothing interesting really happened. I just, you know, decided to go into this full stealth mode, and I just killed these infected, you know, one by one. Just took my sweet time in here. I don't think there was any loot in here, or if there was, I probably missed all of them. But yeah, this was basically all that I did before I was, you know, ready to continue to the next area. And turns out that the next area was one of the most interesting places that I've visited in a while. Obviously, I didn't know about that at this point. I was just excited to, you know, take a look around, maybe find some loot, maybe some trading cards, I don't know. Anyway, I was actually kind of sure that there were going to be a couple of runners, maybe clickers inside of this house, so I was just like mentally preparing myself for that. And I was super surprised when I realized that there was actually nobody inside of this house. As far as I could tell, basically. I could hear somebody walking around, but I wasn't sure if I was just imagining things. But things got interesting when I actually found this note right here, and I decided to read it as per usual. And turns out that this note was left by Boris himself. And I think this is Boris's house. Actually, this note was left for Yolanda, so maybe that was Boris's wife, basically, and was Alfie their son, maybe? I need to read these through again because I seriously can't remember, but I was so excited about this, and turns out that Boris was probably the one who put all of those infected into that one cross that we found earlier. I just really liked stuff like this. I got excited. I know that I don't look very excited when I'm reading the note, but I can promise you that this was one of the best things that I actually have found, in this game so far. I just love these lore notes and reading them. So I basically decided to take a look at the kitchen first, and my plan was to go back to the living room area when I'm done, taking a look at this area right here, because I was so kind of like, expecting there to be an upstairs or downstairs area, maybe a basement, or something else that we should take a look at before moving forward. So I just wanted to look downstairs first and take whatever I could find from the cabinets and anywhere basically. So I decided to take a look at this door right here, and I wasn't ready for this at all.
Get off me!
Oh my god, was I so freaking surprised. It was Boris. He actually came back home and turned into one of the infected, and now he's dead. I was actually the one killing him. Like, Jesus Christ, I love these side stories in this game. This was, I don't know, I just love this so much. And I was immediately so excited about the bow. Mainly because I realized at the end of Last of Us Part 1 how good of a weapon bow actually is. I neglected this, most of my playthrough, but now I was very determined to use it a little bit more than in Part 1. So yeah, let's see how that goes. Obviously, decided to craft some arrows because we need more of them, and the silencer because that broke. I could have, removed that before fighting with Boris, but obviously had no idea that the guy was in the garage, and well, you saw my reaction to fighting that guy. Removing the silencer was the least of my worries, basically. So after upgrading some of my skills, I decided to take a look at the garage and the rest of the house, basically, but turned out that our way was already shut, meaning that we actually can't go back and take a look at the rest of the house, so apologies if I ended up missing anything. As you can see from my reaction, I wasn't a huge fan of this, and I'm not a huge fan of this design choice in general. I usually like to take a look around, at my own pace, without fearing that I will reach a point of no return out of nowhere. I mean, sometimes it's pretty obvious, when the door is going to be blocked or the way is shut or whatever, but there are times like this when there's basically no way for the gamer or the player, whatever, to know that you actually can't go back when you go through that door, and that's kind of irritating to me sometimes. Maybe that's just a me thing. Let me know what you think about all of this. So I was actually aiming for the bullseye because I was pretty sure that there was going to be a trophy involved with this, and maybe there is and I just, missed it or whatever, or maybe I was supposed to aim for the head, because I noticed that there was actually a hint that told me that if you aim for the head and you get a headshot, there's a chance that you will get your arrow back. I think I got that right? So I'm trying to remember that. That's actually a pretty cool feature, if that's how it works. So, after leaving Boris's house, I realized that I was in a deep shit, and there was another dog there with a bunch of WLFs, and turns out that I wasn't alone. I was pretty sure that there was, Tommy was actually here with us, and he was the one who blew up the truck, I guess. So I was basically camping, in the middle of this grass, like 7,500 years, because I basically wasn't sure what I was supposed to do next, because I was so scared of the dog. And eventually I decided to make my move, and enter this house right here. And I wanted to put my mines into use because I don't know, I just thought that that was a good idea, because maybe the dog was going to come this way with a bunch of WLFs, and then, you know, the mine would basically do its tricks. So, after entering this area, I decided to, you know, loot just a little bit and maybe take a peek at the window so that I could assess the situation a little bit better and maybe use my bow to maybe snipe some people with it. Like, I don't know, that was my first initial plan basically. But the thing that I didn't really think about was the fact that mines actually make a bunch of noise when they explode, and I ended up causing a massive chaos. And as you can tell, I'm pretty much using mines now. I used to be a brick girl, but I guess I just like to blow shit up nowadays. I don't know, character development. So my first plan was to use my bow and actually silently kill all the enemies that approached this house, but turns out that yeah, that wasn't going to work. So I ended up actually pressing the wrong button and jumping out of the window, and you know, the mess was basically ready. You know, I don't know what to do with the dogs. Basically, I was just panicking, as you can see right here, pressing every single button instead of the one that I was supposed to be pressing. I had no idea what to do, so I decided to actually go back into the house so that I could actually, you know, heal in peace instead of multiple pieces. So I decided to remove the silencer from my weapon, and I'm actually very proud of myself that I remember to do that nowadays, because, you know, mechanics like that usually take forever for me to get used to. And you know, killing the dogs, it's just, oh god, it feels so bad. I literally feel like the worst criminal when I actually do it. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just that I'm a human. Like, killing animals, it's never a good time, and it's something that I would never do in my real life. Not that I'm killing people on everyday basis either, but you know what I mean. I like animals, so that's why. So anyway, I decided to take a defensive approach and not to leave this house, because I realized that this way I can actually keep a look at my surroundings a little bit better, and there is basically like no way someone could ambush me or, you know, kill me, stab me in the back, whatever. So yeah, that's what I basically decided to do here. I noticed that there was at least one guy who was still alive, so I decided to put my sneaky skills into use, and that turned out going pretty well, actually. I'm actually very proud of myself. I think I did okay, you know, in this scene. It started off really rocky, but I was able to collect myself, and I finally got a proper melee weapon. I was looking, I actually don't know if I just missed one earlier, maybe I did, but I was excited to get it back, because, you know, fighting adult men with a knife as a young woman isn't necessarily a good time. I can't talk. After this, I noticed that there is actually somebody still alive on top of the roof, and I decided to use my sniper rifle for some reason. I actually don't know why I didn't pick my bow and use that instead. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I just thought that, you know, aiming was going to be a lot faster with the rifle, and that's why I picked it up. I actually can't remember, because I was pretty excited to use my bow. So I actually don't know why I didn't use it here, because I think this would have been a very good point to use it, because, you know, that makes less noise than the rifle. But then, you know, aiming with the bow is kind of slow sometimes, and my aim isn't very good, and my hands were kind of shaky, so I guess rifle was just okay. So I was just basically taking a look around, because I was pretty sure that somebody was still alive, because, you know, the music haven't stopped playing. So yeah, I was basically just, you know, trying to figure out who was still alive, and I noticed this guy who was doing, you know, gymnastics right across the street, and I must say that I really like the rifle. I actually really enjoy using it now that I'm, you know, getting used to using the scope here. I was kind of mad that it took me this long to actually get the guy, but, you know, hey, at least I'm doing a little bit better than in part 1, so I'm actually very excited about that. You know, I've actually learned something. It's pretty cool to see that. So basically after this I was pretty sure that there were no enemies in this area. So I decided to take a look at all these beautiful houses. This is actually one of my favorite parts, you know, in the Last of Us games in general, looting and taking a look around because I like the way these houses are designed. Yeah, they can get kind of samey maybe sometimes, but you know, I don't really mind. I still like this a lot. And yeah, I basically noticed that there was a hole on the floor, and I thought that this was another one of those situations when I actually drop down and there's a bunch of clickers or maybe floaters or samplers there. So I was trying to take a look and see if there was another way around there. And turns out that I still wasn't alone. There was a bunch of WLFs who were still alive. And I actually like the way I'm, you know, playing this game nowadays. Obviously, there's a lot to learn still. But I like how I'm using different tactics to take out the enemies. For example, you know, stealth killing them whenever I feel like it. Using the rifle, sometimes a shotgun. You know, the bombs, mines, different things. I haven't been using Molotovs an awful lot lately, but you know, I just like the fact that I'm using different techniques now and I'm not just relying on stealth primarily or using my gun and never, you know, using stealth or whatever. This is actually a lot of fun because usually when I play games, I just basically pick up one weapon and I use it for the rest of the game. That's just how simple I am. So I noticed that there's actually a dog there and I'm pretty sure they actually got my scent, so I decided to just, you know, leave the premises and be a sneaky bit. So I decided to, you know, jump out of the window and leave this place, and my first plan was to just, you know, maybe take a look around the house or peek through the window. I don't know what I was doing here, and maybe get rid of the enemies this way. I don't know why I didn't end up, you know, shooting that woman right there. Maybe I just chickened out and decided to go to the door next door next door to the house next door. So yeah, I just basically wanted to take a look around and see if there were any ammo here. And I don't know why I did this seriously because I realized right when I actually hit, you know, that what is that? Is that a cabinet? Whatever. I realized that that's gonna make a bunch of noise, and you know, after that, shit kind of hit the fan. I actually don't know how to properly, you know, dodge enemies and hit them melee after that, because sometimes, as you could see there, I dodged the dog, but after that I just couldn't hit him straight away. I was just basically hitting like, the fridge or something. I don't know how to really do that. I haven't like figured it out. How to aim correctly at the enemy after dodging them. Let me know if you have any tips on how to do that actually a little bit better. I realized that the guy was actually coming behind me. I like the AI in this game and how the enemies are actually kind of smart, because usually when you play games the AI of the enemies can be kind of stupid and they will just jump to their death or do some stupid, you know, NPC stuff. But I like how the human enemies, you know, in The Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2, you can definitely see that they're actually thinking like a normal human being. The guy noticed that he can't shoot me through the window, so he decided to, you know, basically surprise me and enter the house from the back. I just like stuff like this. It's kind of fun. Keeps things pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure that I ended up just looting this place, and not entirely. I will come back here a little bit later, don't you worry, and I actually took a look at this house completely, but I decided to, you know, get rid of the enemies first before looting, because at this point I had no idea how big this area actually was. I was sure that it was going to be just this little driveway and there were a couple of houses, you know, on both sides of it, but then I noticed that there were, you know, I was just constantly encountering more and more enemies, so I figured that this area was a lot bigger. So I decided to, instead of just looting everything first, decided to actually go back and see where the rest of the enemies were so that I could maybe defeat them or figure out where they were coming from. So I eventually entered this, side yard area, and turns out that this is actually where the enemies were coming from. There was another house there, and I guess they came from inside of the house, maybe. I don't know, but at this point I wasn't sure how many enemies were in there. I assumed that there was a lot more. So I was basically just trying to save my ammo and, sneak or use my melee attacks instead. I actually don't really know what ended up happening here, and yeah, and then one of these dogs, and oh god, that felt so bad again. I guess that guy was actually the dog's owner, and that's why he was so upset about, the dog's death. I'm so sorry, pal. I actually felt pretty sad.
Dad, do you hear me?
But yeah, after that I figured that there were basically no more enemies in this area, so I decided to take a look at all the apartments that I've basically, or the houses that I've, taken a look at earlier, and I decided to complete, my looting session here. I won't show you absolutely everything because I don't really know how to do commentary on that, but trust me, I went through the houses and there were a bunch of, upstairs areas. There was a balcony on one of them, and I guess there were a bunch of, pills, rags, normal upgrade materials. I didn't end up finding any lore notes or any collectibles like cards, for example. It was just regular items that, you pick up sometimes. So just mentioning that in case there were some collectibles that I ended up missing. I ended up finding absolutely none of them, if there were any. And I just noticed that I don't think I got any journal entries, in this chapter at all. So if I was supposed to get some, I just didn't get them, or maybe I just didn't notice that I got them. I was thinking about this hint situation right here because I mean, it's kind of useful sometimes, but I was just thinking about maybe, turning the whole system off from the menu if I can, because sometimes it can be very distracting, and it basically makes me think like whether I missed something or I'm doing something wrong, and usually it turns out that I'm going the right way anyway, and the game is just trying to maybe rush me to the right direction. I don't know. Let me know what you think about all of that. So I ended up picking up a lot of upgrade materials. I was kind of excited about that because I do want to upgrade my bow a lot more, and also I think I've fully upgraded my rifle. Have I? I'm actually not sure anymore. I do know that I haven't upgraded my revolver at all. Maybe I should do that sometimes, or maybe not. I haven't really used it actually that much. So after entering this area, I realized what some of you guys have told me about this chapter in particular. I got a couple of comments to my previous video actually saying that this episode was going to be a lot, and it was going to be a lot more hectic than the previous ones. And yeah, you guys were right. I realized that I was actually screwed. There were so many enemies in here, including the dog, obviously my arch nemesis, and I just wasn't sure how to go about this. I was just frantically, trying to find my way through the grass, and ended up, getting caught by the dog. I panicked, decided to actually find some shelter, so I ran into this house, and I pulled one of my signature moves. That's shoot the dog first, and then plant the mine, because, why not? Mines are now in fashion, so I'm just gonna use them until I get absolutely sick of them. I just basically wanted to just hide and heal in peace and actually take a look at my surroundings, because I wasn't completely sure where I was supposed to be going at this point. I also noticed that I was running out of ammo, and I didn't see any loot in that house, so I was getting quite worried, and I decided to go the sneaky way. So I attached my silencer once again, and my goal was actually to just use the crash to my advantage and maybe just crawl my way out of here. But I noticed that wasn't really, probably wasn't going to work because, this woman was going to see me eventually when she got closer. So I decided to go for stealth. As per usual, stealth killing in this game is just so much fun. I like that a lot, as you can tell. I don't know if that makes me a bad person. Basically, I enjoy stabbing people in silence, apparently. The things you learn about yourself when you play a game like this. So I eventually made my way to this house right here and noticed that the woman actually left the place. So I decided to, follow her example and actually leave this place myself because, reasons. So I jumped out of the window. I was, my first plan was to go through the place that way until I realized that there were a bunch of enemies in here. I was thinking about, crawling through the grass again, but you know what? This game didn't make this, easy for me at all, so I started just panic throwing the stun bombs, basically, because those were the first things that I had on my hands, so, why not? And that ended up actually working, so that was pretty good. This makes me feel bad. Poor dog, I'm so sorry. Once again. But yeah, things were kinda intense. Kinda panicked there. Was just, I don't know, trying to figure out where I was supposed to go next. I actually don't know if there were any, thoughts in my head at this point. I was just basically going on autopilot at this point. Noticed that I was having like the worst weapon on hand for a situation like this. I should have basically just, changed my weapon into something else, but in that moment I just didn't think about that. My, priority number one was to just somehow kill that guy with a rifle, apparently. So, I heard that one of the WLFs basically alerted everybody and told them that I'm in this garage, or that's what I thought. Now I actually think that they were talking about somebody else and another garage, but, let's not talk about that just yet. So basically I decided to use one of my mines and leave it there just in case a bunch of WLFs were going to, approach that little garage that's actually not a garage. You get what I mean. There was just something about this scene that I really loved, the fact that I was being actively just hunted. Basically, everybody knew that I was here, so I was sneaking, but, I knew that I wasn't safe because everybody was looking for me. It's so different to just sneak around when you know that people have no idea that you are actually there, present. So yeah, I really liked the scene. It had this, feeling of urgency. I was constantly kind of thinking about, Tommy, where he was. Maybe I was supposed to, help him out of this mess and maybe save him. So I didn't want to spend too much time in one place, just in case I was going to be way too slow. But yeah, this was very exhilarating. I was worried about the dog because at first I thought that he was going to, come through the fence eventually. So I decided to Molotov him. Didn't do a great job at, throwing the Molotov actually. And then I actually thought that the guy was going to come after me. So I threw him some Molotovs, to accompany him. I realized that that wasn't necessary, really. I just ended up wasting a couple of Molotovs. And this basement, Jesus freaking Christ. I don't really know what's going on around here, really. I actually thought that I still had my melee weapon on, only to realize that I didn't. I only had my tiny little knife, and that almost cost me my life there. Uh, I was basically struggling at this point, but this was so much fun. Like, look at how I'm actually moving in my chair. This is like a full-blown, workout basically. I noticed that somebody probably shot me, and I was saved by the endure skill once again. Thank God for that. I'm so happy that I actually ended up, using some of my pills for that, because that has been a lifesaver, really. But yeah, I really enjoyed this basement part. It was just so much fun and so exhilarating. I liked all the smoke, and it's just a feeling of danger in general. And also the fact that I was basically running out of all of my stuff. Um, basically. And I don't know, I just like that. I like the survival aspect of these games. It's just so much fun, and I think I didn't end up actually picking up the bullets for some reason. Maybe I didn't notice them. And look what I'm going to do next. I don't know what I was thinking here. Like, seriously, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? I don't know. That's actually something. I was actually laughing about that, at that moment. I think I did that out of habit, basically, but I don't think upgrading, your axe is the way to go. But, we're just gonna, run with it because, honestly, why not? Maybe it's. I don't really know. I don't really think I'm going to do that, in my upcoming episodes. Well, at least I've tried what it's like to upgrade my axe. So I realized that I'm still not clear, and I decided to invest into, just healing kits, because turns out that I get actually shot quite a lot in this game.
In here!
I'm actually kind of proud of that, not gonna lie. I got the headshot straight away. I really, really love the music. I still do, in this part in general. It's so freaking good. Like, imagine playing this scene without the music. It just wouldn't be the same, dude. I was just feeling, just thread and the sense of just urgency. I was constantly feeling like I should just move along and get to Tommy as soon as I possibly can. The WLFs were like shouting like they have got me cornered, and I don't know, I just loved everything about this whole scene. It was so much fun to play, and I would like to play it once more. Maybe on Grounded, that would be an exciting experience. So, this was the part of this episode that I just wasn't expecting at all. I was sure that it was Tommy who saved us, but then we turned around and...
What the hell are you doing here?
I have no fucking idea. Jesse? Really?
Jesse,
Where's Dina?
she's safe. She's just sick.
What kind of sick?
She's fine.
Christ, there's a lot of them.
Hey, how hurt are you?
I'll be okay. Your friends out there rushed me. No warning, no nothing.
Tell me you didn't come alone.
Give me shit about it later.
You're a fucking idiot. You know that, right?
Yeah. Right. See that truck?
That's your plan.
We need to get some distance.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Hey, be smart about it.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't smart about it, at all. I decided to, do my usual stuff and just take a quick look around to see if there was any ammo here. Turns out that there wasn't. And I realized that I was supposed to accompany Jesse. So I decided to move along and take a look at the situation, see how many WLFs were actually in here. Because the first time in this episode I actually did have a plan. And I knew what I was supposed to be doing. We needed to get a car. And that sounded very good. So my first plan was to, get rid of the WLFs one by one, but then I realized that they like to travel in packs, and my first tactic that I was going to use wasn't really going to work.
Ashley, go check. You got it. Hey. She's running!
Dropped her! On the left!
God damn it!
Push forward!
Yeah!
I'll get the keys! What the fuck's going on? Got the keys. Let's go. Get in!
Hey, I'm in! Get him! Move in! Jesse, get the fuck out of here!
I'm trying!
Jesse!
Jesus.
Watch out!
Move in! She's empty! Don't let them get away! Hang on!
Go, go! Oh no! That one!
Keep going!
That's two!
Holy shit! Too damn close. You okay?
I'll be fine. Oh God! Look out! Go, go!
You gotta be kidding me. Come on!
Oh my God!
Shit.
Oh God!
Shit.
Also, thank God for Joel, honestly, because he taught Ellie how to swim, and that ended up basically saving her life, because imagine if she had no idea how to do that. This would have pretty much ended up badly. And you have no idea how relieved I was at this point. I was super relieved to be finally in some calm and gentle place. Man, this episode has been so hectic so far, and I don't really mind if we are experiencing some peace and quiet after all of that mess.
Oh, thanks.
This way.
So, at first I didn't notice that we were actually still in Seattle. I thought that we were somewhere else, and now I remembered that, yeah, Dina was actually still inside of the theater, and I was kind of worried whether she was going to be, alive or not. Turns out that she's actually still alive, and, I wouldn't say she was looking good. but you know, at least she was
Oh my
still
God.
breathing.
Jesse.
Hey, Dina. Ooh,
Oh, hey. You okay?
nothing a little sleep won't take care of.
We should get inside.
Yeah.
Okay, come on. Easy. How'd you get past Maria?
Had to sneak out.
I hope you don't mind me talking
found
over
some
this
outposts.
scene right here. I've actually seen this
heard you say-
a bunch of times,
Oh,
but I guess you can
Just
tell
something.
how just uncomfortable
Sit you
this
down,
is for Ellie. I guess she kind of feels left out in a way.
You
I
don't need
know
to do that.
she's with
Shut
Dina
up.
right now, but you
so
know,
when'd you leave Jackson?
Dina and Jesse, they share a past
after you.
together, and
Your
now
dad's
they're
going
going to have a
across the
child
border.
together, obviously, or
doing 18
well,
hours
not
stretches.
together, but yeah. Jesse doesn't know about that, but I guess that's just, I don't know how I would feel about that if I was Ellie, to be honest. That must be really hard.
Ellie,
Huh?
are you with me?
You
Yeah.
know, this
Yeah, I'm good.
wasn't what I was expecting. Not at all. But you know, it was a very pleasant surprise. I guess we are finally back in Jackson, actually, and we are in one of Ellie's
You should just
memories,
apologize to
and
her.
I guess this is going to be the time when we learn more about Tommy and the relationship between Tommy and Ellie. And this is actually something that I'm very excited about because turns out that we don't actually
Just got
know
some
much
stuff on
about
my
Tommy. So I can't wait to, you know, continue our journey from here in the next episode. I was basically just taking a look around, enjoying enjoying this scenery, and I was sharing my thoughts about this episode, which I don't think that I'm going to do a recap here because I've pretty much talked about, you know, my thoughts and experiences with this episode already, you know, while doing this voiceover. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed it a whole lot, and I'm actually still kind of upset that I ended up recording absolutely no audio because there were so many good reactions and I had so many thoughts that I really wanted to share, but unfortunately I can't really remember all of them. I actually tried to treat this as a new experience. I actually had quite a lot of fun recording this voiceover. It was fun to share, you know, some of my behind the scene thoughts about the game. Maybe this will give you some insight of what my thought process is when I edit these episodes and when I'm actually thinking when I play these games, because I actually analyze my playthroughs a lot. And I know it doesn't always probably seem like it, but I do try to learn from my mistakes when I, you know, edit my videos, because I do watch all of my footage. But you know, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I really suggest you to just, you know, record your gameplay. It's actually quite fun to look back at it. You know, sometimes you feel like you're going to die of cringe, but you know, that's okay. That's part of the process and you will survive that. But hey, if you're still, you know, awake, you haven't fallen asleep or died of boredom, you know, in the middle of this episode, I really want to say thank you so much for watching. I know this episode was very different compared to my previous ones. This is not a new style of video that I'm going to make in future, don't you worry. So this was the exact moment when I realized that I haven't recorded any audio from my mic, and I'm actually glad that it can't hear what I'm actually saying here because it wasn't very pretty. But as always, I will thank you guys so much for watching today's episode, and I will see you next time when we play more The Last of Us Part 2. Bye guys.